Susie Sausage Head. So, let me tell y'all about the time Susie Sausage Head was sitting at her grandmother's house, speaking to her about her back pain. Susie's grandmother was working with a church group that assisted senior citizens with services such as Meals on Wheels, rides to doctor's appointments, planned social outings, and other community engagement. One of these additional services offered that Susie's grandmother had until recently taken advantage of was a chiropractic service provided by a gentleman who was working with the church on a freelance basis. The chiropractor had been visiting Susie's grandmother at her house twice monthly for the better part of a year. These in home sessions were consistent until recently and seemed that the last month's worth of visits had been missed/canceled for unknown reasons. As a consequence, Susie's grandmother was now complaining of back pains. As y'all already know, Susie Sausagehead is a natural born detective and made it her personal mission to get to the bottom of this mystery. Susie's grandmother was in agony. The old lady needed her back cracked for heaven's sake, and Susie was going to make it happen for her. The first step in the investigation was to call the church organization and ask if they knew anything about the chiropractor going AWOL. After speaking to a couple of the volunteers, Susie learned that they too were looking for the chiropractor. Apparently, he'd gone ghost on several others that he'd previously been providing services to. Susie also learned during the conversation that the chiropractor was a church-wide service and not just something they offered to the seniors in the congregation. Interesting, Susie thought. She might have to speak to a few more members of the church to get more information regarding this mystery. After getting off of the phone with the church volunteers, Susie filled her grandmother in on the conversation. Susie then began to ask her grandmother if she knew of any other congregation members that were receiving the chiropractic services. Her grandmother replied, stating that she did know of a couple of others that were getting the services as well, but they hadn't seen or heard from the chiropractor either since he went ghost about a month ago. Susie then asked her grandmother to call these other congregation members, asking if they had any other means of communication with the chiropractor. Together, they were able to reach about 4 additional people via phone calls and ask them what they knew. To no one's surprise, they were as in the dark as Susie and her grandmother. After ending the last call, Susie announced that she was going to Sunday service with her grandmother to ask more questions of the congregation members. Susie felt that she needed feet on the ground to resolve this mystery. Plus, she needed to look her interrogation subjects in their eyes while questioning them to determine if they were being honest or not. Susie Sausagehead attended Sunday service with her grandmother the following weekend. While seated in her grandmother's preferred section, she always sat in the same place. Susie scanned the hall for any other potential leads on the chiropractor's whereabouts. She had a list of names given to her during the phone conversations of fellow congregants that were also using the chiropractor's services. Susie hadn't gotten a chance to speak to them yet and wanted to try to catch at least a few of them before they could scatter after service was over. Susie decided to use a cover story as well. She would go into these in-person interviews stating that she herself was wanting to train to be a chiropractor and perhaps work as an apprentice to the chiropractor until she was licensed and could start her own practice. Susie was successful in catching a few of the congregants at once, speaking to them in loud tones so that her already melodious voice further carried to the ears of others close by. Susie expounded loudly that she was willing to pay the chiropractor to train her, make her ready to be licensed, and give her referrals on new clients. At this announcement, a few more people shuffled over, and one of them had a phone number. Arriving back at her grandmother's place, Susie Sausagehead called the number she was given. The phone number was offered by an older lady that Susie's grandmother knew of, but didn't really know well. The lady claimed that she too had been using the chiropractor's services until recently. She further stated that though he was no longer offering his services to the church, she still knew how to find him. After a few rings, a gentleman answered the call and confirmed that he was indeed the chiropractor. Susie ran down her story about wanting to train and get licensed, as well as her willingness to pay for the training and referrals as an apprentice. The chiropractor agreed to this arrangement and told Susie to meet with him later on that day to get started. They met at the library and spoke a while about the plan moving forward. Susie asked him why he no longer provided services to the church members, to which he stated that he could no longer do so because his new partner forbade it. Once the meeting was complete, they agreed to meet again soon, shook hands, and left. Susie exited the meeting first so that she could rush to her car. She wasn't in a hurry to leave. She wanted to make sure she was ready to go when the chiropractor left. Susie's plan was to follow him and find out more about him. She wasn't buying his story about some jealous partner and felt that she could smell a scammer at large. Susie Sausage was following the chiropractor through traffic. She was mindful not to follow too closely, though she was sure he couldn't identify her. She still wanted to be careful. After driving through the city for about 30 minutes, they pulled onto a residential street. The chiropractor turned into a driveway while Susie kept driving by. She made a mental note of the house, then executed a few right-hand turns to come back around and spin the block. As Susie did this, she could see the chiropractor exiting his vehicle and approaching the house. Well, at least now she knew where he roosts. Before she could figure out what to do with this intel, she saw a familiar face opening the front door of the house from the inside. It was the old lady from the church who had given Susie the phone number in the first place. Susie was still driving, and when she saw them hug and kiss each other, once the chiropractor reached the front door, Susie almost collided with another car. Apparently, Susie had found the new partner, who was old enough to be his grandmother, and demanding that only her back be cracked from now on. The